Welcome, Mrs. Vaughan, to Align Yourself podcast by Ebony Rose. I have been following you for probably like 3 years now, I think, on Instagram, back when you were Low Tox Revolution. So tell me all about you. What do you do? Who are you?
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm Mrs. Vaughan, soon to be mum. So I'll be a mum in May, which I'm really excited about. My background is I'm actually a qualified electrician and certified EMF tester. But I just have a huge interest in health and being an advocate for yourself and your family.
Yeah, amazing. And this is why I started following you, because you have taught me so much about removing toxins from our lives. And one of the main reasons I wanted to get you on today is to learn about this EMF. Like, I've seen it online, but what is it?
EMF is a little bit of an umbrella term. So it does incorporate electromagnetic fields, and it incorporates electric fields and radio frequency radiation as well, which we're kind of bombarded with all three. Now, there are lots of different sources of EMF radiation. But basically, the smarter our lives get with tech and everything, the more toxic soup we're living in. So my saying goes, convenience comes with consequences, and we see that in a lot of aspects of life, including EMF and technology and even electricity.
Yeah. So how long have you been going down this journey for, from removing all these chemicals and toxins and things from our lives?
I think I've grown up I was raised in a very natural home. It really started to take off. My interest in it really started to take off in 2020 because I was home a lot, as lots of us were. I lived in Melbourne at the time. We were home a lot. It was only essential workers. So I was spending a lot more time at home, and you couldn't go out after work and stuff. And so I just started to look into it a bit. I started following this other lady who is quite an advocate on social media about low tox living. And it kind of has just progressed from there. And then I kind of worked out I really like reading about this stuff, became a bit of a nerd to do with it. And then, as I'm sure you know, once you kind of start down the rabbit hole, you just kind of start learning a whole heap. And then as I was finishing my electrical qualification, something you do learn about during that qualification is electromagnetic fields, because electricity and electrical flow has to do with the north and south poles and direction of current and how that creates magnetic fields. So it's very legit because it's something we literally learn about during our training. So, right. And then from there, I have done extra courses more specific in EMF and radiation as well.
Yeah, cool. So I've seen on your Instagram account that you do go to homes. And so what do you do there?
So I take 3 testers, depending on what the customer wants. I have 3 testers that I take with me. They all test different fields. So the ones I mentioned earlier, so EMF, electric field, and radio frequency radiation, or RF. And I basically go through the home, find their hotspots for these fields. These fields all have different sources and obviously different levels and have a different level of effect on the body. And what's really important with EMF is actually just keeping in mind that it's where you spend a lot of time is where you want low EMF. So yes, if you want solar and you want inverters and batteries in your house, that's absolutely fine. Don't put them on a bedroom wall. Put them on a garage wall. So you're not spending extensive amounts of time next to it, and distance is your friend with this sort of thing. So I go in, sorry.
Are you talking about that big, because I've got it in my garage, there's a big thing on the wall and I know the solar connects to it. It's like a big box. Are you talking about that? You want to stay away from that?
Yeah, because that is giving off really high electric fields and EMF. It doesn't... the new ones might start incorporating some wireless components, which would then be your radio frequency as well. But electrical in general is more to do with EMF and EF.
Just EF. Okay. And now coming to Wi-Fi, what's the go around your Wi-Fi router in your home?
Yeah. So your Wi-Fi router is giving off radio frequency radiation. Now, there's a lot of debate about ionizing radiation, non-ionizing radiation. They're both not good for you. I've read so many articles about both, and even non-ionizing radiation is not good for you. Same thing with your Wi-Fi router and radio frequency radiation. is distance. Distance is your friend. So being specific about where you put the router, how often you have it on in your house, turning it off at night is really important.
So I've got one of those timers on my Wi-Fi, but it's in my living room, and I'm constantly thinking, like, even when it is on, because we only really use the Wi-Fi for our TV. So I'm trying to get in the habit of turning the Wi-Fi off at the wall, so it's just not even on at all unless I'm doing something like this and I need the Wi-Fi on my laptop or on my TV. Is there any other tips that you have for people that have Wi-Fi that may work from home? You said distance is your friend. Is there any other things that we could be doing to protect ourselves from being too close to our Wi-Fi and all the effects it has on our body?
I would say because your computer is also connecting to the Wi-Fi, obviously, they're both giving off some radiation. So using shielding products is really important. And I think for anyone working at a desk, it's really good to use shielding products. And what I mean by those is shielding blankets. You can get shielding clothing from some stores in America. And because they are woven with silver, and it basically creates protection from those waves actually entering your body. So while it's good to be far away from your Wi-Fi router, if you are spending extensive amounts of time with your laptop or your desktop and wireless components, it's really important to have that shielding in place. Okay. And a lot of people have a bit of speculation around these products. I have tested them myself with my meters, and I can confirm, well, the place I get them, they do actually work, and they reduce it by like 29%. So it's really good for extensive amounts of time when you can't have a decent amount of distance between you and the computer, because that, is connecting to the Wi-Fi still.
So if we're having these exposures every now and then, you're saying it's probably not that problematic, but if it's constantly, or if you're doing it for a work and you're constantly sitting near them or constantly being on your laptop, and I'm assuming it's actually bringing up a memory for me when I was a teenager and I got a phone, I started to put my phone in my bra, and my mum would always be like, get your phone out of your bra. What's your thoughts on that?
Phones are actually worse than Wi-Fi routers. So often I have tested in some people's homes where she was keeping her Wi-Fi router off during the day, even for work, and she was hotspotting from her phone to her desktop. And I said, I completely understand why you're doing that, but I said, that's actually heaps more radiation because it's working, your phone is working so much harder to connect to the phone towers at that point. So it's giving off a much higher amount of radiation than connecting to your Wi-Fi. So I said, during the day, have it on if you need it, working, and just don't have your Wi-Fi router like under your desk. If you can have it recabled, if it is somewhere that's close to where you spend a lot of time, if you can move your office somewhere else, or you get an electrician who specializes in data and they can come and recable it and reroute so you can keep your Wi-Fi router somewhere else. So again, it's distance, but your phone, it gives off a lot. And often people think your phone is better because logically you would say because your phone is smaller, because logically your phone is smaller, you would think it would give off less radiation. But unfortunately that is not the case. And so having a tester on hand can also be really helpful to see what the levels are like in places you spend a lot of time. So yes, I'm glad you don't keep your phone in your bra anymore. I cringe when I see people keeping it there. I'm just like, oh,
well, I see young girls, actually not even young girls, put their phone in their legging pockets or their top of their leggings, like right near their ovaries. And I'm like, ugh.
It's and the literature around the harm that it is having on particularly fertility is mind-blowing. Like, I just wish it was mainstream. I wish this information was just in the media. Obviously, it's not going to be. I wish it was. And particularly in Australia, for some reason, the media here in particular likes to say it's just a load of BS. But so many other countries are banning all kinds of things to do with radiation and EMF because of the studies they're seeing and the information they're gathering. So, for example, in some schools in Switzerland, they're actually banning Wi-Fi routers altogether. So they're having everything, if it's required, they're having everything hardwired, so cabled to the correct location rather than wireless, because they're seeing the impact it's having. And the impact isn't just fertility, it's cancer, is behavioural stuff. So in schools, obviously, you don't want kids acting nuts all day. It's pretty amazing.
Right. So you did say there's a few things I want to go back to that you did mention. First of all was the towers. Can you speak more about the towers? Because I vividly remember one day hearing, this was years ago, right before I went down any rabbit holes. And I remember hearing when 5G tower was going up in the suburb. And I remember hearing people going, oh, the conspiracy theorists are all like, to, want to get this tower knocked down. Da, da, da. Now that I've been going down the rabbit holes, the 5G towers has come up a lot and what they're emitting. Like, can you speak into that? I'd love to know more.
So it is radio frequency radiation as well. And same thing, people try and argue ionizing, non-ionizing, doesn't matter. They're still not good. The effects might be different, but they're still detrimental. And there's so much evidence. I'm not making that claim. I just have read so much evidence to say, yes, it's harmful. So essentially, because they are putting up so many in close proximity, even though the towers might not be close, it is slowly bringing up the amount that we're exposed to. So even if you're not very close to one, because they're almost creating a grid of them, it is just bringing it up ever so slightly. Every time they upgrade it from 4G, 5G, obviously the next one's going to be 6G. Haven't heard anything about that yet, but it will arrive at some point. It is bringing up the average radio frequency that we are exposed to. What's really interesting is there was a lot of controversy about one particular tower in the suburb I grew up in. So that's where my parents still live. It's in South Australia. And there was a lot of outcry from locals, and they didn't listen to anyone's request for it to not go up or to be moved. So it's right near a shopping centre and right near a lot of houses. So you can actually drive past it when you go into that shopping centre. And I should actually drive past with my tester and take a photo because I'd be very interested to see how high it is. But on the fencing surrounding the base of that tower, it literally says, danger, don't be in here, it's too dangerous. If this is all good and safe, why are we concerned about people being too close? Why is there signage if it's safe? And similar to what I have said already is distance is your friend. So the reading is going to be a lot higher right near the towers. So if you're living near a tower, I would absolutely move. I'm not even exaggerating. I would move house.
That was going to be my next question. If you were looking to buy a house and there was a tower next door, you wouldn't buy the house?
Absolutely not. No matter how desperate I was to get my foot into the real estate market, wouldn't do it.
So coming back to phones then, if phones are worse, how can we protect ourselves and our children? Like, I know being a mum, we're sat on the couch for hours or in bed, hours a day, feeding. And so we reach for our phones a lot. What could we be doing to help protect our kids from our phones and ourselves?
Yeah, I would absolutely invest in a EMF poncho. So it reduces the radio frequency by 99%. So while you're breastfeeding, it just wraps around and buttons just near your shoulder. So the baby's completely covered.
You feel that they actually work? I have actually invested in one, but I don't think I've been using enough as what I should. So you feel like they definitely work. Now, going then to the EMF, you mentioned a tester thing. Do you think we should all be investing in one of them?
Absolutely. I think it's heaps cheaper than having someone regularly come in to test your house. They do range from about $150 to $500, depending on the tester, the quality, and everything. I've only used the ones I have, so I can't actually speak to other brands or places that sell them, but I'm sure there's lots of good reputable brands out there. But yeah, I would definitely have one on hand, particularly the radio frequency radiation tester, only because I think the harms of that are far worse than the other two fields.
So you said the blankets for protection and the poncho. Is there anything we could put on our phone? Because I have seen some things in ads before about you can get stickers for the back of your phone. Do you know much about them?
I don't, and I am quite skeptical of them because you can't test the effects very easily. They don't actually. So a lot of brands that sell things like this, they are claiming that it reduces the negative effects of radiation. Then it doesn't actually reduce the radiation. So it's not something I can actually test with my tester. I'm sure I could be totally wrong and they might be great and work a treat. I am less inclined to only use that because I can see with my own eyes that blankets work and ponchos and that. And I can test that. You can't easily test the effects of it. You would need more of a long-term study to say, yes, this has reduced the negative effects of radiation, because you can't necessarily, it doesn't reduce the radiation. Does that kind of make sense?
Yep. Awesome. I love that. Now, coming back to something else you said before that I really want to dive into as well. You mentioned that you were raised in a natural home. What is a natural home?
I guess it's different for everyone. We were particularly strange.
Yeah.
So I would say my family's even more natural now than when I was little, but you do start somewhere. I think eating really well, having natural products in the home. I've never received a vaccine before. I've never had antibiotics. We didn't have a doctor growing up either. We just didn't do things by the book. My parents didn't do things by the book as far as health goes.
Oh, that gives me goosebumps.
Sorry?
It gives me goosebumps to hear. I'm like, what a flex.
Yeah, it can be done. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be done.
Yeah. And it's actually very remarkable. I probably don't quite appreciate how much harder it was back then to do it because we didn't have the internet. I do all my research using the internet. They just had a few books and honestly logic and common sense to use back then. They didn't have access to all of this stuff that we have access to. It's actually even more amazing that they made the decisions they did with the little information available at the time.
I definitely see that. I see that. I see your parents for being like, I'm like, that's goals to me. So what was it like being raised not vaccinated?
Normal to me. It wasn't as polarizing as people probably think. It was very polarizing for mum and dad, and that was definitely something they had to be so dedicated to and really have a lot of knowledge about to be able to not fight people on it, but to be able to back up why they decided to do things that way. As a child, no idea. I felt no different from anyone else. The really only time I've ever remembered anything that I really stuck out was when the nurses would come to the school and everyone would receive their HPV shots. And I would just stand at the back and be like, I'm not getting one of those. But I was okay with it because it had always been an open conversation in our household and a very important topic. And it wasn't taboo. And mum and dad would always talk to us about it. And if we're wondering why, because they didn't want us to feel left out or isolated or anything. So it was always a conversation.
Yeah. Wow. That's beautiful. So did you ever feel that any kids ever picked on you, or was there any other parents that didn't want their kids to hang out with you as a kid?
No, I never felt left out. It's definitely more as an adult. People are very opinionated. But as a kid, nah, I wasn't worried about it. I had other things I was worrying about. And to be honest, other kids didn't really care about it either. So it wasn't really something that ever really came up. That was just the only... I did get a bit of lip from a teacher, though, actually, when I was standing outside waiting for everyone to get their shots. Because it was me and one other boy that didn't get vaccines. And so my maths teacher at the time he walked past and we were just standing outside waiting. And he goes, oh, so you two are just going to be spreading the diseases around the school. But I'm very hard-headed and very sure of myself. So I just looked him dead in the eye and I was like, yep, if that's what you think, sure. I didn't bat an eyelid, and I thought it was quite humorous because I just kind of thought, you really don't know much. I was like 15 and I was kind of almost looking down at this teacher just like, whatever, like clearly just regurgitating the same old rhetoric. And I found it really amusing. Mum and dad were mad that he said that, but...
I bet if that was my kids at school and a teacher said that, then, I'd be fuming. So have you ever caught a vaccine preventable illness? I'm sure everyone is wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And what was it like? It obviously didn't kill you.
No, not at all. Yeah, not at all. It's interesting because I had measles as a kid, and so did so many of my peers. So all of the vaccinated kids also got measles. What I like about this story is I got over it very quickly and it was very mild for me. My chicken pox as a child was worse and took longer to recover from. And that's why I've never understood the fear mongering around measles. Like, it used to be a joke in TV shows that, oh yeah, I love getting measles because I get a day off school. Like, it was just laugh. Like, it was in the Brady Bunch in one episode. And so, yeah, definitely. But there was no fear around it. Mum was equipped with the knowledge of what to look for. So she knew how to spot particular illnesses that kids had gotten in the past. And she wasn't fearful. She knew how to continue to support our bodies. And not that she needed to, but she also knew what to look for if intervention was required. So say we were not well-nourished children and we didn't have a good diet and didn't have lots of sunlight, then yes, anytime a child gets anything in there in that state, I think you need to be aware that things could go pear-shaped. But if you're healthy and well-nourished and have a really good lifestyle, it doesn't need to be the fear around it.
So how did she support you at home when these illnesses occurred? Because you did mention you've never met a doctor, so I'm assuming you've never been to hospital.
Oh, no, I have since been to a doctor just for like sick certificates for work and stuff when you need it occasionally, but not for any sickness. So I would need to ask her particular regime, but I do remember a lot of oat baths. So she would put oats in a sock and tie it up just to really soothe the skin. Similar thing to how she helped us through chickenpox, is we would just sit in a warm bath with oats soaking in it because it was really soothing for the skin. So I've always had that in my memory. But just ensuring that we were eating well. Basically, the second that we got sick with anything, including measles or chickenpox, there was no sugar, no dairy, no simple sugars. So no bread, pasta, rice, anything like that. It was just meat and veg. It's what you ate to get better. That's what we ate primarily anyway. But we definitely cut out those other things because they just don't help. And then a lot of vitamin C, pumped for that. Bone broth. We would either have chopped up garlic in a tablespoon of honey because garlic's a really good natural antibiotic. Or as I got older, garlic capsules and that sort of thing. And just she wasn't fearful of the fever either. She was just supporting our body through the fever. Your body is heating up to help deal with those pathogens. It's not something you need Nurofen or Panadol to reduce. Your body is doing it. And if you give Nurofen and Panadol when a child is sick or when you're sick, it actually stops your glutathione production, which is part of your detoxing pathways to help get rid of those pathogens. Again, I'm not making these claims. That is just the consensus and what people know about Panadol and glutathione and how important it is.
Yes, it's becoming a mum and having to deal with fevers myself. It's the surrendering into the trust of the human body. Like, we're designed to do exactly what it needs to do to heal, and our bodies are so capable of healing ourselves, but we're so conditioned to, as soon as your body presents something, rather than listening to it and going to the root cause, told to band-aid it, and therefore we're constantly suppressing, therefore the body's never detoxing. So it's been really awesome to dive down this journey, especially since becoming a mother. Did your mum ever use homeopathy?
No, and that's something I am curious to look into.
Yeah, cool.
To my knowledge, I don't think so. She has always known about it, but I don't think it ever got to the point.
What, you needed it?
Sorry?
So it just never got to the point you needed it?
Yeah, and I think because the way she was doing things with us on the odd occasion that we got sick worked. I think if it didn't, she would definitely look into it. And I'm keen to look into it as well. I have a kit coming soon, so I'm really excited to learn more about it.
Awesome.
Yeah, that'll be really
cool.
good.
So for going back, because you obviously, we're talking about, anywhere between 20, 30 years ago when you were raised, right? When I checked my vaccine schedule, I've had 11 vaccines. It was either 7 or 11 vaccines in my childhood, where if you choose to vaccinate your child with the full immunisation schedule now, I believe the last time I checked or saw, it was around 59. Now, I don't want anyone to quote me on that because I know in every different country it may be different. And I know it may be different, but it's risen by quite a lot. Have you seen that?
Yeah, heaps. I know the US, it's 72 doses. Here, I think it is slightly less, but it has gone up so much as well. I'm pretty sure it is close to 59. I don't know if that 59 includes, I would need to double check, but I don't know if that 59 includes the flu shots.
Right.
Because sometimes people count them, sometimes people don't. And it depends how to the schedule you are. But it's gone up astronomically. And so has childhood chronic illness, and a bit of a correlation there. But I think there's really good things happening in that sphere of things with RFK coming in, and because other countries do follow what the US does. So very interested to see how that goes. But yeah, it's heaps more. And even our grandparents were even less.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? So being pregnant, tell me about your pregnancy and your plans to carry this baby. Are you going to follow on your mum's path?
Absolutely. And probably be even more extreme. So I was never vaccinated as a kid. I've not received any pregnancy vaccines, and I won't be getting any. I will not be vaccinating my child because I feel equipped with the knowledge about vaccines, about the diseases, and how to best support our kids through any kind of sickness. So yeah, very natural. What I really like about this pregnancy is I'm just being left alone. But the reason I'm being left alone is because of the decisions I made with my providers that I chose. So I'm only working with a midwife. I'm not working with an OB. I don't have a doctor anyway. I just picked a random person to see when I needed some bloods done. And it's just been a really positive experience because I haven't had pressure. I had a conversation with my midwife when I was calling people to chat and just see what their values were, if they minded some decisions we were going to make, like my husband and I. And she was like, no issue at all, because something really important for me, I'm happy to have a discussion while I'm pregnant, but after I've given birth, I don't want to be fighting you or trying to justify to you why I do or don't want certain things. And so just to avoid that happening at all, I was very specific about my midwife, and thankfully she's very aligned with me. So it was a huge blessing that we have that. And yeah, I've just really tried to focus on nutrition and also not giving in to, I think there's a lot of fear on social media. And I think because you can hear all kinds of stories, everyone has different experiences. And friends of mine who are pregnant have told me they fear miscarriage the whole pregnancy. I have not given it any thought, and I'm not sure why, but I don't know, just a very natural, like my body was designed to do this. It's a very natural, understanding approach of pregnancy. It's not.
You don't see pregnancy as a medical emergency.
It isn't. We were just designed to do it, and I just think it's the most amazing thing. And I've just kind of not given in to pregnancy, but just I'm just going with the flow. Even when things pop up that I'm like, oh, that's new, like. When I first got round ligament pain, my assumption was my body's doing what it needs to do. It doesn't feel good, and then I just said to my midwife, hey, I'm having a bit of discomfort. I'm assuming this is completely normal. She said, absolutely. Your body is stretching. Your muscles are lengthening to make room. And I was like, great. I'm just not trying to overthink it and hyperanalyze everything. But I think that's only because of the journey I've been on. I don't think that is always the case for everyone.
Yeah, it's definitely a surrender into the trust and the unknown.
Surrender, yeah, that's the word.
Surrender
Absolutely.
was my word that came up all the time for me in my first pregnancy and birth. It's just surrender. So what, are you taking supplements that you wouldn't usually be taking for pregnancy?
Yes, I did get some DNA testing during a preconception period to see if my husband and I had the MTHFR gene mutation, which we do, and I do. So I'm taking a methylated folate prenatal supplement. So I've been taking Vaughan. I've actually been terrible at taking it. I'll be completely transparent. I haven't been consistent with it at all. The supplements I've been consistent with is my Keton water and choline as well, because that was something that my body needed as well based on the testing, and very consistent with the diet. When I stopped vomiting, I was very consistent with the diet. I couldn't stomach heaps in the first trimester. Yes, I've not been overly consistent with my prenatal, but I do like the prenatal, and I have looked into and compared a lot of prenatals. So the Thorn Basic Prenatal and Needed is another brand. I think they're both quite hard to get in Australia, so I think you need to order them from iHerb. That's where I get Thorn. But as far as bioavailability go and depth of nutrients in the prenatal, I really like those brands the best. And then Thorn doesn't contain choline, so I've been taking that supplement as well as eating a lot of eggs because they contain choline, and being aware of the natural sources of the things that I need during pregnancy.
Amazing. God, what was my next question going to be? So you're not taking Elevate?
No, not. I can't say I've looked into it. Normally, if something's really popular and like a bit of a fad, I won't go near it. Yeah. I honestly won't even bother looking into it, to be honest.
Unless I feel like once you go down the rabbit holes, you learn like if it's recommended by the government, don't touch it.
I just don't bother anymore, yeah. What did you take when you were pregnant?
So I was the same as you. My pregnancy with Ziggy, I was so sick I couldn't stomach anything. I had a naturopath at the time, so she recommended me prenatals and I was all over them, but I couldn't. I brought everything I needed that she recommended and I couldn't touch any of them my whole
Yeah.
pregnancy. They all make me sick. So basically nothing. And I at the time hadn't gone down. I was not about health at all. Was just, I was just a normal Joe Blow. Like I hadn't gone and discovered all of these things, especially gone down any rabbit holes as such. Throughout that pregnancy, it was at driving through McDonald's drive-through all the time. Like I ate really bad. I remember just living on mac and cheese and just craved baked beans. Second pregnancy was completely different. I didn't feel the need while I was pregnant as such to supplement. I chose to just really be mindful of my diet because my diet and my understanding of what you eat had completely changed. We eat a very animal-based diet now. I wouldn't say I'm carnivore or anything, and I wouldn't even say I follow a diet. I definitely don't, but we definitely at home, how we eat is extremely clean now. It never was, but it is now. So I didn't feel the calling, but after I had Sage, my second, I definitely felt the calling to supplement, and my body needed more, especially breastfeeding. Like it absolutely just depletes you. Pregnancy and breastfeeding depletes you. So I'm starting to take things now. So at the moment, I'm taking Forage for You. And I have never felt a difference when taking supplements before than I have with that. And also the full Love Your Guts range. Love Your Guts have a pregnancy and breastfeeding bundle. So I'm taking that, all of the capsules of that. So it's like spleen, beef liver, even I think one's like testes. And I've not felt better. Like, yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, my next question, because I know we're running out of time, is there any baby products you won't use?
Oh, yeah.
Most of them?
Probably heaps. Or just, there's probably more so specific brands I won't use. So I am putting together a whole low tox baby booklet at the moment just to save people like the countless hours I have spent looking into it. We're not going to worry about baby monitors. Our house is actually not huge. If the baby's crying, I'll probably be able to hear it. And it's right next to our bedroom anyway. So I'm not even worried about that because we just weighed up the exposure versus the benefit. Not that important. Our parents and grandparents didn't really have them. Like they had the old analog ones, if anything. And while if I was to get one, I would absolutely get an analog monitor. I wouldn't get a digital one. I wouldn't get a camera or anything. I would just get the one-way, almost walkie-talkie style one where you can just hear the baby if the baby's sucking or anything. So probably that.
Sudocrem?
Okay, no, yeah, absolutely not. I've looked into those ingredients one by one, and specifically, I will not go near that with a 10-foot pole.
Johnson's and Johnson's, what's it called? Top to toe baby wash?
Yeah, so popular. I think it's so popular because don't they get given it in hospital with pseudocreme when they go home?
Yeah, Sudocrem and Johnson's are literally on all the cribs, like set out for mums to be able to wash their babies.
Yeah, no, we'll not be going near that. To be completely honest, if it's being sold in a shop, I'm not going to go near it. If it's being sold at a supermarket, not going to touch it. And I'm honestly not even going to bother looking into the ingredients. Because there are really good homemade things you can make at home, really good Australian brands of things that are safe to use for the baby. So, for example, nappy rash cream, I will be using straight tallow. And so all it's got in it is tallow and jojoba oil, which are both safe for the baby. So it's not going to be one with any essential oils. So the tallow I use has got lemon essential oil in it and I love it. I'm just going to literally use, it's just like plain tallow with jojoba oil, really great barrier cream. I'm not going to use any. So I haven't even looked into the brands that people normally use because I've read enough product ingredients lists that I know what's going to be in it. So I'm just not going to go near it. I'm trying to think what else. We're like still collecting a whole bunch of stuff. I think a few things that people probably think are a bit over the top is my pram and my car seat. I didn't even think it would be a thing having one that wasn't doused in flame retardants and forever chemicals and formaldehyde, but I did manage to find a brand that they sell here that doesn't have that. So they meet the bare minimum requirement for it, and none of the components that require it by law are even near the baby. It's more the very backing or the bag that it comes in. Like, it's not anything that is touching the baby, which is awesome. We had to buy a new one anyway. And because people always say, damn, that really seems like overkill. You can't protect your baby from everything. And that's true. But if I'm going to be buying a new car seat or a pram anyway, I may as well get one with less chemicals on it. And they're so midline price-wise, like so similar. So is there any products you've changed from
Since
baby one to baby two?
Yeah, definitely. With Ziggy, so my first, I brought this range from Bod Society, and I brought the moisturizer and bum cream, and I reckon it probably took me a year and a half to get through the two. I just didn't use them that much. Ziggy, the biggest things that I guess covered with Zig is that I was using cloth nappies, and I brought secondhand off Marketplace, and they must have not been washed correctly. So she got ammonia burn. So that's when I really relied on that bum cream to help. Yeah, and that was horrible. The guilt I have from that still to this day is horrendous. And then what was the other thing? So moisturizer, I for our baby shower, I asked for no gifts. We did something where we just asked everybody to transfer. If they wanted to, they could transfer as minimal as $10 or as max as they felt comfortable to her own bank account, and then we invested that money so she has her own
That's such a great idea.
Yeah, and then we just said, if you want to bring a physical gift, bring a book and write a note on the front of page for us. So every night when we're reading a book, we always get to open the first page and see who the note was from. And that, I just checked that the other day, and it's gone up beautifully. So not that it was, thousands of dollars or anything. It was, I just didn't want to receive any products that I would then have to waste. So it was good. We just limited products. We still got given a few little products here and there, and I just never used them. I've actually still got a tub full of random products in my cupboard that I just haven't touched. But for me now with Sage, I only have tallow. Actually, no. So coming back to Ziggy, she was put on antibiotics at birth, and so therefore she had reoccurring thrush for quite some time. Now, being a first-time mum, I didn't know the difference between thrush and just a nappy rash. So I was actually just treating it with that nappy rash cream, and it wasn't going away. And it wasn't till I discovered that it was thrush that I actually ordered handmade Ayurvedic for thrush. And so once I put that on her, it cleared it up, and it's never come back. So I still have that, and it's all I've needed really, but I haven't really needed to use anything. But with Sage, I've definitely gone from, we use more flannels and just water, and I just trialed the paper towels. My girlfriend put paper towels in water, and she put essential oils in there. I was actually a bit hesitant with essential oils. There's some sort of gut feeling I have around essential oils on the skin.
I'm with you.
Just think, yeah, I don't know what it is, and I can't back it up with anything. It's just this feeling I have. I've tried to push through it, and I actually trialed them, and her skin was beautiful. There was no reactions to it. I used up but we have always composted our baby wipes, so I didn't feel comfortable putting the paper towel dosed in the essentials in the compost bin. I don't think that'd be good for the worms. So I just felt like I was putting more into wastage. As much as I loved them, and I don't have anything bad to say about them, and they're also good to use when, like, my older daughter was messy or whatever, I used the paper towels and they were great, but I just probably wouldn't use them again. I'm loving flannels with just water and flannels. And yeah, we've just been using our tallow if needed. But Sage is now a couple months old. I'm so bad at keeping up with the weeks or the months or the dates or whatever. She's maybe 9 or 10 weeks. I think someone said the other day they counted. And we had still not used anything on her in the shower, just water and a flannel. And it works beautifully. And I just always try to think back to our ancestors, like what did they use, and all of these products that you read the ingredients. And that's what I was going to ask you. What's some tips that you could say to mums out there who are overwhelmed and struggling to know what's good and bad? What were some tips you would say?
I'd say do a bit of reading and find the most common chemicals that are in baby products, or message Ebony or myself, and just as a starting point, just going, right, what chemicals should I look out for? Because there are hundreds of thousands of chemicals, but there are like 5 to 10 really commonly used ones that are used in baby products that we can just jot down for you and be like, hey, every time you go and get a product, just turn it over, read the ingredients, and if it says any of these chemicals, just put it back and continue looking. Or ask us for recommendations, yeah, it can be really overwhelming at the start, especially if you're beginning your low tox journey. Obviously, when you start looking at everything, you're like, oh my gosh, it is literally everything. So it can be overwhelming, but one thing at a time. If you want to start with your baby products, just one thing at a time. Ask, recommendations. I'm totally with you on the cloth and water. So we've got a complete baby wipes kit. It's pretty much just 2 tubs that come just filled with cloth wipes. I think I've got one here. And we're just literally going to be using water as well. I think as well, obviously, I'm not totally a mum just yet, like baby's due in May. But I think as a society as a whole, there's a product for everything. And I just think it's completely overkill. Like, I think things used to be so simple for a reason. Like, it doesn't need to be super complicated. And yeah, because we'll be using cloth and water as well, and cloth nappies and that sort of thing. I think where things can get complicated is when you start looking into what they make nappies out of, like disposable nappies and things like that. Because
Tell me more.
You just don't even consider it something. You just think it's material. There wouldn't be toxins on this. Unfortunately, there are, and the glues in them, what the nappies are treated with to make them white and that sort of thing, it just is more and more exposure. So yes, it might be a very small amount, but over the baby's lifetime, over that child's life, just constant accumulation and exposure, it is going to add up. So I think those things definitely matter. And what's interesting is, anecdotally, I've seen babies that have their mums use cloth nappies don't tend to suffer from nappy rash as badly as disposable nappy babies. There are some brands out there that make great disposable nappies. They are very conscious on what they use on their products. So we will be using cloth nappies to start with. If I am feeling overwhelmed, being a new mum and everything, I am going to have disposable nappies on hand, but I have researched it and found a good brand. So we're just going to use Junior, which is, I believe, are a New Zealand brand, but they are sold here as well. And they're just very low tox, minimal exposure, while I'm trying to get my bearings a bit. Because often cloth nappies are just not feasible for some families, and that's fine. But just knowing there are better options out there, and then just doing a bit of reading into what actually goes on typical nappies, because same thing, I'm not going to be buying nappies from the supermarket. I will order them from Junior. Nappy wipes as well and that sort of things.
Amazing. So coming back away from parents, because there's going to be some people listening that aren't parents yet or don't have kids, what are your top tips for making your home a cleaner environment?
Ooh, that's a good question. There's quite a few places you can start. And again, it can be very overwhelming. So I would start with what you wash your clothes with, because you spend all day in your clothes, you spend all night in your bed sheets. That's just constant exposure. And our skin is porous, so it's absorbing what is put on it. I would get rid of aerosol deodorant straight away. If it's a gas deodorant, so any kind of aerosol, I don't think there's any kind of safe aerosol. People might disagree, but I don't think it is safe at all. I think if you're just home during the day, you don't need to go anywhere. I won't even bother putting deodorant on. And a lot of people think that's disgusting, but you actually shouldn't smell. If you're past your detoxing phase of getting rid of toxic deodorants, you shouldn't really smell during the day. You might towards the end of the day, but I think it's not super necessary all the time. And then just getting a clean alternative, which you can get, even if it's not toxin free, it's just a low tox option. Places like GoVita have really good options that are affordable, and yeah, it can just be a little bit less overwhelming, and then you can kind of keep with your journey there. I think another one, it's a little bit more expensive, but it's so crucial, is filtering your water, because if you're not filtering your water before you drink it, you are the filter. And the amount of crap in our water is just mind-blowing. I think something that the low tox world can get wrong is focusing a lot on just essential oils are a fix for everything, or it's all personal care products, and not really worrying too much about things like water or diet, but they're just as important. It does also depend on how much you use, like for makeup, for example. I looked into that much later because I was a tradie and I never wore makeup. So for me, it was less important. So I think laundry detergent, filtering your water, and stopping using perfume altogether. I think essential oils are a great replacement if that's something you feel comfortable using. I don't use or wear any kind of scent. There but there are low tox perfumes out there. So it just takes a bit of research. And also, again, read the ingredients list. Don't just trust the front of the label. And that goes for all products, not just perfume. I would say those are the big ones.
Yeah, they're the big ones.
Because like I said, everything, honestly, I'd get rid of plastic chopping boards as well, because you're pretty much eating a teaspoon of microplastics a week if you use plastic chopping boards, I believe, is the statistic. So I actually love tempered glass chopping boards. People like wooden. I think wooden is good. I've used wooden in the past, but I do find them a bit annoying to keep clean. And you have to sand them back and re-oil them. And I just think they're a bit more of a headache. Love tempered glass. Pyrex actually do some. They're like $14 from like Big W or something. Really easy, accessible. You don't need to order online from some obscure shop. Just a really easy replacement. If you have kids as well, actually, I would say what you wash your floors with if you have tiles or floorboards or vinyl, what you wash your floors with as well. Because, again, that's where your baby's going to be spending a lot of time. Babies lick everything. Babies lick the floor when you're not looking. So, and again, their skin is porous. So if they're spending a lot of time on the ground, they're going to be absorbing the residue that is on there from bleach or all the crap that they put in Earth's Choice flooring wash and stuff like that. I literally use my non-toxic dish soap with hot water to wash our floors. It's just so simple, and it doesn't need to be a product for everything. Bit of common sense, replace some products and just kind of go from there.
Yeah, you really don't need a cupboard full of products, do you?
No.
Because I feel like there has been, I'm only new to this journey, but I definitely have been sucked into buying so many cleaning products that are just like low tox, thinking I've got to make the switch. But really, when you're actually embodying it, you realize you don't need a cupboard full of chemicals. You really don't. You need some vinegar, bicarb.
Absolutely. So good.
Just the main ones, and you can usually make your own based off those few. Something that I wanted to touch on was I'm an ex-hairdresser, and it baffles me to believe. And so I'm not as good with remembering the ingredients. So whenever anyone asks me, I just say if it looks like a meth lab, it probably is. Coming back to my hairdressing days, we would, every time we wash someone's hair, we'd, pump on our hands, shampoo, conditioner, the treatments, the colors that, if we didn't wear gloves, would be handling them. Looking back, I wasn't aware at the time. When I was pregnant, my gut was wrenching when I was doing hair. I didn't feel like the right place to be. Obviously, it was my career at the time. What I just thinking about, if someone has a career that they are using and touching hundreds of chemicals every day on their hands, because from what I've learned, and correct me if I'm wrong, your body absorbs everything that's put on the skin. The skin absorbs everything under your feet and your and this is why now we don't let people walk in our house with shoes on. We get them to take their shoes off at the door, coming back to the whole kids and cleaning your floor thing. But having a career, if someone has a career and they're exposed to all of these chemicals, is there anything at the top of your mind that you can think of to give them tips to helping when they get home have a balance, to help balance out their exposure load?
It's really tough because at that point you've absorbed everything that you've put on your skin from the day. And while reducing toxins in your personal life and your personal care products is great, I think you need to seriously consider ways to create a barrier between those products and your skin, whether that's gloves or I used to be bleach blonde. The bleach was getting really difficult for my hairdresser, and she had to do it with gloves for that reason. But I think that's a really good rule of thumb if that's an option, and that's more specific to hairdressing. If you yourself or your husband is a tradesman, depending on what kind of trade it is, even though people laugh at you on site, having a proper breathing apparatus for certain tasks, super important. Like if you can reduce your exposure, it's a bit hard to be specific because every field can be so different. But I think being aware of your exposures and how you can reduce them, regardless of what your mates think, is key. So for hairdressing specifically, I reckon gloves are a really good option. Yes, they put crap on gloves too. Rinse them out with a non-toxic dishwashing liquid before you use them, and just trying to limit your exposure. And then also reducing, obviously, the toxins in your own personal care products at home is great because you are reducing your burden then. For an example for my field, like previously being an electrician and having my own business, when I was still working for someone else, I purchased the brand is and it's a breathing face mask kind of combo. So rather than just the breathing mask and then having to wear safety glasses, it was just kind of one whole thing. So it was one big section and then had it was like aerosol vapor level filtration for my breathing. Wow. And I just wore that going in the roof, even if I was just going up to check something, because I just knew the air quality up there was going to be toxic. The fiberglass from all the insulation as I'm moving it, you're just breathing all that in. So again, it's a bit of a journey, but starting to think about what your potential exposures could be, how you can reduce them is really important. Does that kind of answer your question a bit?
Yeah, it does. It actually just took me back to remember that when we were at TAFE and we were learning hairdressing, it said when you did the occupational health and safety theory, it actually says in there, it just reminded me that you should wear glasses and you should wear a mask, and no one does that, right?
I've never seen a hairdresser do that.
No, even in TAFE, you would never do it. They'd say it but you would never do it. But yeah, I have dove into the understanding of the body heals itself, and I just have to remember, I come back to it and go, my body's healing itself, because otherwise it can be pretty depressing thinking about 15 years worth of the exposure I have had to chemicals on top of the rest of the population, especially being hairdressers. So yeah, any hairdressers out there, definitely look into making sure when you get home, your home is a very clean environment to provide your body some sort of balance. Coming home and smelling candles and being also in a chemical overloaded environment will just put your body into such, fight or flight.
And keeping in mind as well that you can make better lifestyle changes. Heavy metal detoxes you can do as well, because there are heavy metals in a lot of the products you guys will use. Try not to get too overwhelmed about it, because you're right, the body heals itself. You have a liver for a reason. Yes, we don't want to constantly bombard it, but it is okay, and you can make better decisions moving forward. And I had another point as well, which has fallen out of my head.
I was going to turn my aircon back on.
Oh, what was I going to say? And if you are a business owner yourself and a hairdresser, or you can have a chat to your boss about what products they use, you can actually look into lower tox options. Obviously, I don't know how many replacements there are for bleach, but again, reducing your exposure, are there better products out there that have less crap? And I know can always be an option, because some people they love being a hairdresser and they don't want to stop doing it. And I totally get that. And yeah, there are some steps. And if it is a huge concern of yours, then you might need a career change, because even if you're using gloves, you are still breathing it in. I guess you could wear a mask. I've never seen a hairdresser do that, but you totally could. And but also just goes to show how bad getting your hair done can be as well. Sometimes it's all on your scalp. So
yeah, I don't know. It's just like a once off though. As much as I don't really color my hair anymore, I feel like, when you're doing something as a once off, it's in moderation, right? Like the hairdresser will only be so much more heavily exposed doing it every day up to 8 different people in one day, to opposed to like you and me going and get our hair colored every 6 to 8 weeks, or even now I probably color mine every 4 months or whatever. But anyway, we better wrap it up there. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been such a privilege to talk to you and get to know you on a deeper level. And I really hope people have learned from you as much as I've learned from you, being new to this world. Yeah. I've learned so much from you, just to help me be a better mum, a better person, a better having a home environment. So yeah, I really, really appreciate your time.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me.